Done. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to everybody that's live streaming, and even bonjour if you're watching from France. So welcome. We'll take anybody. Welcome. So I'll do the opening karakia, English, Māori and English translation. Ki hora ti marino, may peace be widespread. Kia whakapapa Pounami te moana, may the sea be like greenstone. Hei hurahi ma totoa I rangi nei, a pathway for us all today. Aroha atu araha mai, give love, receive love. Tato inu tato katoa, let us show respect for each other. Apologies and leave of absence. I've got an apology from Councillor O'Keefe and Community Board appointee Isabel Corshell. Is there any other apologies or leave of absence? No. Could I please have a mover? Councillor Ross, and seconded Councillor Watkins. We all know the drill regarding conflicts of interest as we go through. The minutes of the previous meeting on the 20th of May 2026 have been completed and circulated. Are there any questions on the minutes? If not, could I have a mover, Mayor Sholem, and a seconder, Councillor Radcliffe. Thank you. Right. So today's meeting is non-financial, non-quantitative. In other words, it's qualitative, or the Latin qualitas, which means concerned with quality. So we're concerned with non-financial or performance measures, and we will have a number of presentations in that regard. But first up, we welcome to the Chamber Lucinda Perry, General Manager of the Hastings City Business Association. Welcome, Lucinda. I'm sure you were here just a couple of weeks ago. I don't know where the time goes, but hand it over to you, Lucinda. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. I'm not going to go through the annual report or annual plan in detail, as you've all got those documents. Instead, I'll just give you a brief overview of the year we've had, where we're heading, and a few of the key areas of focus for us. And of course, if there are any questions or anything you'd like me to expand on, I'm very happy to take those at the end. It's a good opportunity to reflect on the work Hastings City Business Association has delivered over the past year, and to outline where we're heading into the 2026-27 financial year. The 25-26 year was a busy one for us. We delivered a broad program of campaigns, activations, events, business support and advocacy across the CBD. From Hastings, Dine Around the World and Christmas promotions, through to partnering with HDC on focus on business events and our winter activation. We also adapted our program during the year, replacing the planned comedy debate and Easter campaign with the indoor ice rink. A good example of being responsive and looking for opportunities to create activity and visitation in the city centre. Financially, we finished the year strong. Careful expenditure management allowed us to finish in a positive position. But our work is more than events and marketing. A significant part of what we do is advocacy, supporting occupancy, building partnerships, and contributing to the overall vibrancy of the city centre. Looking ahead, our 2026-27 plans build on that, with 4 key priorities: economic development and advocacy, vibrancy and visitation, business growth and capability, and destination marketing. We want to continue to work really well alongside Council on the issues that matter to the CBD, including safety, parking, infrastructure, business attraction, and vacant premises, while continuing to create activity and promote Hastings as a destination. And importantly, we want to make sure the city centre reflects and works for the diverse community that makes up Hastings. supporting businesses and creating opportunities from people from different cultures, backgrounds, sectors, and generations to connect and participate. Our relationship with Hastings District Council is an important part of making that happen. We may have different roles, but ultimately we share the same goal: a thriving, vibrant, and economically resilient Hastings City Centre. So thank you to you as councillors for your support and for the ongoing relationship with us. There is plenty of work ahead, but also plenty of opportunity, and we look forward to continuing to work alongside you to make Hastings a city centre that our whole community can be proud of. Ngā mihi nui, thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda. I'll open the floor up now for any questions. No? Wonderful. Your report. Oh, hold on, here we go.
That's totally
Councillor Milmine.
Sorry. Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you, Lucinda, for the information and for all that you do. Just wondering, so I see in here one of the Photo Fest as one of the vibrancy and events that you support.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if that is through a contra or if that's a financial support.
That's financial support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? No? So, thank you, Lucinda. Some of us had an opportunity to attend the Hastings City Business Awards. Well, everything's a blur, but was it last Friday? Last Friday, and it was just a magnificent event. And I think those of us attended really made us feel proud of Hastings, and even though it's very tough economic times at the moment, just the pride and the determination of everybody there. So thank you for that. Thank you also for your advocacy regarding the differential, and that applies to Emma as well. There's a rating policy review that's coming from as part of your advocacy as well. And we want a buoyant business centre, and even if someone is listening from France, you'd open online shopping for Hastings, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Not the Hastings in England, but the Hastings in New Zealand. So thank you, Lucinda, for all you do, and your team, Emma and Mandy as well. Thank you. Yep. Emma, your spot. Thank you. Oh yeah, sorry, we need to do, got all excited about online shopping then. Can I have a mover for the Councillor Lorcan, and seconder, Councillor Nixon? All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Emma.
Perfect. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Emma McRobbie from the Havelock North Business Association. I'm here to walk you through our priorities and plans for the 2026-2027 financial year. Our goal remains clear: to support a thriving village for locals and visitors alike, a place that is vibrant, connected, and commercially successful. The annual plan we've developed reflects this, with a well-rounded mix of new initiatives and proven favourites shaped directly by member feedback and aligned with seasonal opportunities. In marketing and promotion, we'll continue to promote Havelock North as a vibrant place to shop, eat, stay, play and live. We're continuing with our collaboration fund, which invites members and key stakeholders to pitch concepts for workshops, street events, promotions for board consideration throughout the financial year. Working with a small budget, we have found it valuable to have this flexible fund that allows us to support opportunities as they arise, whether it's backing a great member-led idea, responding to a seasonal opportunity, or adding value to an existing community initiative. We also have returning favourites such as our Gift Local and Christmas gift guide, as well as a Refresh Professional Services guide, and bringing back our Retirement Village pop-ups. First up on the calendar, we'll be launching into some spring activity. We're looking at a Blossom Brunch activation in collaboration with HDC Marketing. We're also looking at another hospitality promotion to tie in with the return of the Spring Carnival races. We'll continue our social media program across our 3 channels with a stronger focus this year on authentic content through partnerships with local businesses and local content creators. When it comes to vibrancy, we're focused on bringing life and creativity and connection to the village in a way that feels fresh, inclusive and distinctly local. We'll continue to deliver activations around key events and seasonal periods, encouraging locals and visitors to shop, dine and spend time in Havelock North. This includes a Valentine's activation, playing on our Love Havelock North brand, our popular Santa mailbox. We're also progressing on a pop-up art installation in partnership with local artist Tam Mackin, with the concept being to create an engaging piece that brings a unique creative element to the village, but also being able to be reused and adapted for future vibrancy initiatives. As we head into our third year of Blended, we are looking to mix things up a little and build on what we've learned from our first two events. This year's event, held in March, transformed Tretches Lane into a vibrant afternoon of local wine, food, art and music, bringing together 11 wineries, 4 hospitality businesses, 6 artists and 2 bands. Importantly, several surrounding businesses reported more than double the usual Sunday trade as attendees moved through and explored the area. For its third year, we are looking to evolve the concept and looking to utilise an area of the village with a strong concentration of hospitality businesses. This will allow us to engage more local venues directly, reduce the need for external suppliers, and create a stronger connection between participating wineries and our hospitality wine lists. We're also looking at moving to a Saturday date to give us the opportunity to compare the impact of a different day and use those insights to help us guide future event planning. On the member-facing side, we'll continue to focus on creating opportunities for our members to connect, learn and stay informed throughout the year. We'll be running our popular quarterly networking events, which provide relaxed opportunities for local business owners and representatives to come together, build connections and share ideas. These events also give our board a chance to hear directly from our members and to keep in touch with what is happening across the village. We'll continue putting out regular digital communications to keep members updated. Alongside our networking program, we'll also work with organisations such as the Chamber of Commerce and Hawke's Bay Tourism to provide access to quality business development events and workshops to our members. Finally, advocacy continues to be a really big part of our role, and we're often the first call from members when something needs fixing or communicating. Rates, parking and foot traffic shifts remain key concerns for our members, and we're committed to working with council and other agencies to find workable and long-term solutions. Our board is proud of the progress they've made over the past few years, and with council's continued support, we're confident this plan will deliver real value for businesses, residents and visitors. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Emma. Questions? Councillor Mulwine?
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. I really enjoyed reading your your presentation, your annual plan, and hearing about the innovative ideas that you've got going on. And firstly, how much you are achieving on such a tight budget is really impressive. So your team are obviously working very hard, which is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So do you have much to do in attracting, like you've got some really good shops and Havelock seems to be coming along quite well in the village. Do you have much to do with attracting the business, or is it largely
No, we
developers?
rely a lot on our developers and real estate agents. We did start last year sort of reaching out to them and offering, CBD information packs and updated imagery so they could promote Havelock North in a good light. We actually generally have a representative on our board from that development real estate sort of lens, so they help keep us better connected in with that group as well.
Oh, great. Well, you seem to be doing a good job of it. Thanks.
Any more questions? Ms. Sholem?
Hi Emma, thank you for the presentation. I'm just interested, you made note of foot traffic as an area. Could you speak a little bit further to that?
So it's a bit of a mix depending on the businesses you talk to. There's sort of 2 key areas. One is things obviously through winter have slowed down a bit, and the second is with that empty New World site. We are very excited to hear it has been purchased and is going through a refurbishment process. But that is an ongoing concern for our businesses, particularly on that middle road and around the corner there, around the loss of foot traffic they had from when the New World was there.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions. So thank you, Emma. Like Lucinda, we're lucky to have you both as GMs. You do a fantastic job, so we really are lucky to have both of you. As Councillor Mulwine mentioned, you do a lot with resources, and also thank you for your advocacy. And it was good yesterday to sit in on your board meeting and Councillor Lorcan was in full flight and Ms Roebuck was in full flight. The ideas were singing all around, and from an accountant's perspective, they didn't seem to cost a lot of money either. So that was,
I mean, we'll always take more, but you know.
that was, yes, don't record that comment. Right, but thank you so much, Emma, for all you do. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you,
And
everyone.
thank you. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Normine, and a seconder, Councillor Radcliffe. All those in favour of the recommended reports? Thank you. That's passed. Mr Allen, Deputy Chief Executive, will now speak to the report of the Hawke's Bay Museums Trust.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Dr Grant, the Trust Chair. He's currently overseas at the moment. He was unable to be here, but happy to present the draft statement of intent. I guess there is a bit of an apology around the delay in timing while we work through some of the cost allocations that were required, particularly regards Amakura's new operation and how all that's falling together. I do think there's more work to be done in that space to be really clear around what are costs associated to the Trust in relation to Kahukura and the Hawke's Bay Museum over in Napier, but we can work on that throughout this financial year as we set up for the long-term plan. Really, that's probably the only significant will change in the document. The key objectives are the same. The purpose of the Trust is the same. So really, it's just around the funding. That's been of concern as we work our way through it.
Yep. Thank you, Mr Allen. Any questions on the report? Councillor Jessup.
It's not a question, it's just a correction to the name of the current trustees. Thompson with a P. I think that's, yeah,
Yep.
spell his name properly.
Thank you, Councillor Jessup. We'll that amended. Councillor Lorcan.
Yes, thank you. Through your chair, just checking, is there a plan for the name change of the MTG to be incorporated into the SOI? At the moment, it's still MTG, and I believe it's Kahukura. No?
Yes, I'll pass it. That's a good point. I'll pass that back to the Trust and they can make that change when they finalise the statement of intent.
Councillor Normine.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Do we know when the annual report is due? Do we know when the annual report is due?
CCOs are required under the Local Government Act to have their annual reports finalised by the end of September. So they're probably just working through the final audit processes with that at the moment.
So will that come to us then, or will it be
No,
the next?
well, by the time it goes through the audit process, gets adopted by the Museums Trust, which will have to be before the end of September. It'll be probably the next performance and monitoring around probably November.
Thank you.
Councillor Nixon.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm just interested in the management fee, not the amount, but exactly where does it go? Does the Museum Trust pay it directly as salaries and wages? Because it used to go through Napier, didn't it? And then they billed us. Is that the way it worked?
It still does.
Oh, it still does.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the Museum Trust really has very little transactions going through its accounts. The museum is run by Napier City Council and they provide the service for the Museums Trust for the care and preservation of the collection.
That's fine. I couldn't find it in there.
Councillor Corbyn.
In relation to the MTG at Amakura, does the Trust have any responsibility in maintenance of those buildings, those assets?
Just in the process of just finalising those arrangements between ourselves and really with Napier City Council on the basis that the contract is with Napier City through the museum to look after the collection on behalf of the Trust. So that work is sort of just being finalised at the moment.
And in terms of the staff, are they employed that work in those buildings? Are they employed by the Trust or some separate?
Employed by Napier City Council.
Employed by Napier City Council.
Thank you. No more. On page 38, we have recommendations to receive and provide any feedback, which has been happened. So could I have mover, please. Councillor Radcliffe and Councillor Gibson, second. I forgot your name there, Steve, sorry. And all those in favour, please? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Allen. I'll now pass over to Mr. Allen for the performance, the big grand report of the performance monitoring report, and
I'll just, Mr. Watson.
Mr. Watson. Okay, Mr. Watson.
Very keen that he's wanted to take the lead on this.
The responsibility falls on me. We have the quarterly report, it's all been sent out. Because this is the year end, and again, it's been quite an eventful and full year for council. Rather than just work our way through this report, we thought we'd actually ask the GMs to come up and to give an overview of the year, and then in September I'll come in and give an overview of the actual financial position when we close that off. So that's the plan so for attack today. And first up, we've got district development and risk, which is Raoul and the team, and they'll come up and give us a presentation.
Afternoon, councillors. I've been advised to keep this relatively snappy, so it'll be pretty focused. Applying my Dutch efficiency. So yeah, I think just to touch on some of the key headlines in the growth and development space. I've got Anna Summerfield as well here, who's going to touch on some of the policy planning work that's happened over the last year, and then after that, happy to take any questions. So I guess from a growth planning perspective, there was quite a lot of traction last year. Some of the highlights there was obviously the adoption of the Future Development Strategy late in 2025, and that has really become the feeder into what will be the regional spatial planning work that will take place this year. So it gives us a really good foundation stone to move into that next phase of substantive work. So in parallel with that, near the tail end of this financial year, we've started leaning into the regional spatial planning work alongside the government reform process, with a view of bringing that back to council over the next couple of months. Another headline there in terms of local area planning. So just to refresh the councillors' minds, local area plans are effectively structure plans for intensification, so really important to council in terms of its strategic direction for growth. Those four initial local area plans for Hastings were adopted by this council earlier this year, and an action plan has been developed to start giving that traction as well. Alongside that, we are now running through a similar process for Havelock North and Flaxmere, so that once those are adopted, we have a really sound footing for, I guess, progressing with our strategic intensification direction for the district. Finally, they just touch on the Havelock North Village Framework. It was really good to hear from the Havelock North Business Association just earlier. So that work was a review of the 2008 strategy, again, was started just over a year ago. Extensive community consultations has occurred in the last 12 months, and that's now complete. The framework has been drafted and developed and is actually coming back to council via a workshop tomorrow to work through that. So substantive body of work, a key document for the village in terms of how it moves forward for the next 20 years. Residential and industrial program. So again, for a period where the economy's been quite quiet, there has still been a lot of progress. Howard Street structure plan area, the public infrastructure is complete there, and I guess the focus now is on housing uptake. There's quite a lot of activity in that site with the Tumu development, which is the image in the background there, largely complete, and we've got residential development happening across TW and Hero sites there. So that's advancing. The team here at council continues to provide key account services, working alongside developers to move things forward. The same applies for Iona. I guess the key milestone there is that the final piece of the public works, which was the Iona Road upgrade and services installation at the tail end of the last financial year, was substantively complete. It is complete now. I see Kelly's here. There's a bit of a shout out to Kelly in terms of the work that he's put into that over an extended period of time to get us to this point, which is, has proven a lot of things in terms of how the public sector can work with the private sector. So quite a milestone there. Again, housing uptake is starting to pick up there quite considerably. You can see a lot of houses under construction, which sort of indicates there is a bit of a turning there in terms of the market. Again, our focus there is on ongoing key account services. The same applies to Brookvale. I guess key milestone that occurred there in the last 12 months was the drinking water upgrade and the Remains Drive improvements. And I'm sure if you've driven through that area, you'll notice the difference in terms of the Remains Drive roundabout with the slip lane that takes you off the side in terms of assisting with some safety and connectivity. Very briefly on industrial. Industrial inquiries, ironically, have started to increase again, which again is a good indicator. But some highlights over the last 12 months is the opening of the main freight development in Irongate, substantive regional distribution centre in there. The New Zealand Post distribution centre as well in Hastings, and then the construction of the final cool store in Irongate associated with the Sunfruit development, which ironically was the development that instigated that entire rezoning process. So quite a milestone there. One more slide and I'll hand over to Anna. Finally, Flaxmere was channeling our former CE, the fabulous Flaxmere. So a lot of progress has been made there. And again, just acknowledging all the officers that have been involved in that process over the years. But in the last 12 months, we've seen the progress of housing in Whakaruru Cres, which is fantastic. There's the houses being built there, have been opened officially. The supermarket's being constructed and is now fully operative as well. And we've got more works underway through the developers. The stormwater detention basin in Portsmouth Road, which is to deal with stormwater runoff for the Flaxmere area, has been constructed and is fully operative as well. And master planning that we are doing in a joint fashion with the lead developer there, TW, is also progressing at pace with a view of moving that commercial centre forward in the near future. Anna. Now take a breath. Yeah, that was good, eh?
Kia ora koutou, good afternoon everyone. So the environmental policy team had a very busy year last year. A lot of our work program centred around RMA reform in response to amended and new national direction instruments that were released by the government, as well as the two bills that will replace the RMA, so writing submissions and written submissions and oral submissions. Raoul's mentioned the FDS was completed and adopted, and I just want to acknowledge Craig Scott and all the work that he put into that project. We're also involved in the regional spatial plan readiness, coordinating across the 5 councils. Fast track applications, so we were asked to comment on a number of these applications. Arataki was granted through that process in November 2025. In terms of the Brookvale Green proposed development, that was referred in December, and a substantive application has now been lodged, although that request for further information has gone out through the EPA. The Middle Road application, that was also referred on the 23rd of June, and they are now developing their substantive application. In terms of private plan changes, we had 4 across the year. The golf course private plan change, we heard that decision in April last year. We've now just received that decision on Monday. And then the appeal period closes the 9th of October. The HBRC Stop Banks hearing was held in May, and we're still awaiting that decision, but it is not too far away, I believe. The Brookvale East residential rezoning application that was heard in March 2025, that decision has been released, and the appeal period closes shortly on the 4th of September. The racecourse is our current private plan change. It was notified in May. Submissions have closed now, and we are now in the process of preparing a hearings report, and that hearing will take place in October 12th to the 16th. So we also have been working on council-initiated plan changes, the Esk Valley River Hazard Overlay Plan change. So recently we brought that to council to get approval to notify. Subsequent to that, we received a letter from the Minister requesting that a range of climate change scenarios were included in the modelling. So that work is now being undertaken by the Regional Council. And so that plan change is currently on hold, awaiting that additional information. The Lyndhurst residential rezoning area, over the last year we've prepared a structure plan to inform the development of that area. And we've also prepared the plan change documents to change that zoning to residential. So that package also came to council to get approval to notify, and we're looking to notify that plan change in September this year. The Irongate industrial area, so we're just working on a structure plan for that area, for the 3 areas identified in the future development strategy. So that's at really the initial stage, and we have got transportation master planning and impact assessment reports received, as well as Three Waters assessment reports. So we're using those assessments to inform the development of the structure plan for those areas. The other projects that the team have been working on are the rural residential strategy. So the market demand report has been received, which showed that we have a sufficient plan-enabled capacity to meet the demand for lifestyle and rural residential development. And so we're looking to bring that to council in the near future. We've reported that to the Rural Community Board on the 17th of August this year. The commercial strategy, last year we received a trends assessment report in May and undertook consultation over the remainder of the year. So now we're just looking to draft the strategy using all that information. The Waihitonga project, we're working with Tamatea Pōkai Whenua, and in March this year they provided information on 89 sites of significance across Hiratonga. So working with them to develop additional information to support any change to the district plan to identify those sites. And the last project is the CBD Heritage Design Guide Review. So we've received a draft review report, and we're just working our way through that at the moment, and also have got photos updated of heritage features within the CBD. Happy to take questions.
Questions? Councillor Noah Ustek.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I haven't caught up with the news. What was the decision on the Hawke's Bay Golf Course?
The decision was to approve the proposed plan change.
Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Question for Raoul. Raoul, just in relation to the High Court case regarding Brookvale, can you just remind us of the consequence if the court rules against us, and in monetary terms, how does that play out in terms of us being able to recoup from the development?
So I guess to refresh your memory, council has entered a High Court process to, I guess, determine what methodology for valuation should be applied in the instance of Brookvale. That court hearing was held earlier this year. The decision is pending. We've been advised again in the next month or so that should come out. The implications of that court decision will be brought back to council for consideration, including the fiscal implications of that. Two potential pathways there, Councillor Watkins, I guess, that I see. One is that, or three. One is that the pathway aligns with council's valuation methodology and processes, and if that's the case, our budgets apply, and it's effectively business as usual. There's a decision that's made that's contrary to that, and if that warrants the need for additional funding, then that will be brought back to council for consideration and decision making in terms of how council moves forward. Yep.
Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Question for Anna. My understanding is that late last week the government dropped large, major amendments to the planning and natural environment bills. Do we know what the impacts of those amendments might be here in Hetatonga, or is it too early to say?
There were a number of amendment papers that were dropped by different parties, so the government and the Labour Party. So at this stage, no, we haven't got our heads around all those changes as yet, but we will work our way through them and come back and report back to council. Yes, I think they started last night hearing the second reading of the bills and all the amendment papers, and that's continuing today.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Milmine.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It's great to hear some positive things that council's been doing. Are we taking questions in the actual report, or are we going to do that afterwards, just for this section, or not?
If you've got questions on the report, then now's the time to ask.
Yep, thank you. So just with regard to the risk management, and I see in here unfunded growth is an extreme risk. Just wondering how we're mitigating this. I know it's very hard.
I'll try and answer that to start with. I mean, we are, in terms of the risk of the unfunded growth, we're actually now starting to revisit the whole DC policy, and that will be coming back to council through late September into October as part of this whole LTP programme. But at the same time, we're also looking at how do we get the developers to step up and do a lot more, and then so looking at developer agreements for a lot of them, so then that fits in with their timelines rather than council either dictating timelines or them trying to dictate to council to try to minimise that risk of unfunded growth.
Fantastic, thank you. And another one, if I may, through your chair.
Yep, sure.
The people, health, safety and wellbeing risk, I'm just wondering why this is so high when I know we've got good procedures and things in place, but the risk is still extreme and high. Oh, sorry, page 17 of the report.
But I think we have been looking at some statistics as well, and while Bruce is looking at this, and the statistics certainly indicate that there is an increase in the staff being off, staff going to EAP, and if you look over since about March, that has actually ramped up quite significantly. So that's why it's seen as quite a high risk, irrespective of the processes and the education and the training that we actually give
So
people.
we don't know that there's anything we can do to mitigate that at this point. I think we don't.
I think we're doing everything possible. We're just in a situation where people are very busy. Obviously, it's been quite an emotional time through council as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Corbyn.
Thank you, Chair. The future development strategy, the note here is facilitating greenfield growth areas. A big part of that strategy was medium density. There's no comment on the medium density progress in this report, and I'm just wondering if there has been any progress.
Yeah, through the chair, I think Councillor Corbyn, the key, or one of the key vehicles that council is continuing to invest in at an operational level is the LAPs. But as I said, I think the LAPs are effectively the structured planning mechanisms to facilitate and enable intensification to occur at scale in the right locations within the district. We've got, I guess, dedicated resource within the growth and development team to do that. So there is committed resource to make that happen. In terms of, I guess, the data indications or the data trends that back up what's happening, there's definitely a shift happening towards an intensification model, which is fantastic. And we can definitely bring or share that with council if it's beneficial to provide you with an indication of the trends so that you, I guess, get a level of assurance that there is intensification happening, because we definitely see it at our end.
That'd be great. And I do have a second question. I think it was called the Havelock North Village Framework. Is this the same as we had a group of Havelock North developers come into the chamber about 2 years ago and present a draft master plan that they thought of? Is this the same thing?
Through the chair, your memory is very good, Councillor Corbin. So that was the instigator for this piece of work. This council made a decision following that submission to the annual plan that this body of work would be done. So this is effectively the response to that request.
And the consultation for this, has it brought those developers back in during the consultation?
So the dialogue, through the chair, the dialogue with stakeholders, including developers, has been continual through this process. The intention now is to, I guess, more formally engage with stakeholders with a proposed plan once that's been endorsed by council.
And the developers had thoughts or suggestions on traffic flow and management. Is that part of this framework as well?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely it is. Yeah, and again, I guess I'll reiterate, there's a workshop tomorrow specifically on that item. So where Megan Gaffney, who's the lead officer, will take council through that process and all the various elements.
Councillor Corbin, did you want an action on that medium density information to come back, or?
Yes, please.
You do, yep. Could we record that? Already, thank you. Councillor Lorcan?
Yes, thank you, and through you, Chair. Just looking at 2C, streams and dams, on Joel and Plassey, is that something I can ask about in the report?
We will be running through each of the GMs, so that will come up in asset management.
Yeah, sorry.
That's cool.
Mayor Sholem?
I'm just having a look at, let me get the page number for you. I think it's page 17, which is, again, the future development strategy and the regional spatial plan. Just through you, Chair, noting the risk around the short time frame, which we are well aware of. For the benefit of our community, though, could we just have a few comments around what arrangements are being put in place across the 5 councils to try and address the very tight time frame?
So through the chair, council officers have been working collaboratively on the regional spatial plan for some time now, in the context of, a moving feast and I guess the final lie of the land still being locked down, but there's been a lot of engagement, a lot of proprietary work to get us as well positioned to ensure that the timeframes that we have available, we can deliver what's required. So there's a lot of ongoing dialogue, a lot of regular catch-ups, and the intention now is to bring a paper to all of the 5 partner councils in the next month or two to formalise that process and how we move it forward.
If I may ask a follow-up question. I note as I was reading through the report documents last night that the Civil Defence and Emergency Management section has a bit of a graphics issue. Some graphics on the printout is covering some of the data. So we'll look at potentially reissuing that. But through you, Chair, I do have a question. From what I could read in the report, I see that we've sort of been vamping up the community resilience program and the key roles and whatnot and within that. And I guess my question is just seeking some assurance that we're confident that we have in place the structure and the resourcing we need to sort of deliver the next phase of the plan around this. if anyone can speak to that, or we can hold that and come back later.
Yeah, I think we can, through you, Chair, provide some assurances to council that, yes, the team has been built up over the last sort of 12 months and is now at a point that we're comfortable that they have the capacity and capability to deliver on that next phase of work. I think one of our big work-ons more organisational-wide is, I guess, the level of capability and capacity that we have more broadly across the organisation for when we need to respond to and prepare for certain events. And the likes of Cyclone Viola taught us through that time that whilst we might have 60, 70 trained civil defence people within our organisation, but if you have an extended period of time, you do burn them out. And we are working to have the target's somewhere around 170 trained staff from within the organisation that can help respond to emergency events. So that's as much as so the small team that's delivering on that. I think we've got some good people now, and they're well set up to move this forward. Organisation, we've got a little bit of work to do around building that resilience across the organisation more completely.
And through you, Chair, if I may just make a request. I note with all the reforms and also with the transformation strategy that we're essentially working to here in terms of our response at a regional level as well as a local level, there are added requirements being put on staff almost on a daily basis. I would like to just clearly request that this table be kept informed if we're needing to look at extra resourcing in order to not overload staff, as you've highlighted. I think our staff responded admirably during Cyclone Vanu, but yes, over an extended period, I could see that burnout would be very real. Lump on that everything else that we're juggling, so it is a high concern area for me.
Take as an action, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Mormine.
Thank you, through you, Chair. My inquiry is about page 21, so it's the Community Resilience Programme. I see that there's audits underway for the community hubs. Just wondering if there is any update on how they're going. I've had some questions from some of the community hub people that I deal with about the operational side of things, and now that time's ticking, I don't know how to, how that's been covered or where they need to go for advice and things. So I'm just wondering.
We need to come back on the specifics of that.
Yep. Cool. Okay, thank you.
Take this as an action as well, Christine. Councillor Lorcan.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Very, very quickly, just in addition to Mayor Shollin's comments about the graphics issues on page 20 and 21 of the report, there's a typo underneath programme highlights. The word withing, I think, should be within.
Thank you, Councillor Lorcan, for your proofread. Councillor Corbyn.
The spatial plan, will the process be similar to the FDS, where there is a joint committee of council representatives?
Through the Chair, short answer, Councillor Corbyn, yeah. A process that's not dissimilar to the FDS process will be applied. Yep.
Okay, and when do you think that committee will be appointed?
So again, through the Chair, as I referred to earlier, I think the intention is to bring a paper back to all 5 of the TAs this side of Christmas to help shape up that process, so that will be part of that paper.
Councillor Daniel.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just in regards, I'm sort of coming off Councillor Milmine's question, and I'm looking at page, I think it's 21, around community resilience, community hubs, and I'm looking at the marae figure. It's still sitting at 3, which it was sitting at 3 in February as well. So what is our progressive plan to get those numbers up? Because that's total allocation 12, and we have 3 that are already standing up. So how are we getting to 12?
I'll probably just very quickly. So we do now have a dedicated staff member, and Ms. Dinwoody is making her way to the front. That probably answer that question more fully.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yes, just as Bruce was saying, we do have now a dedicated staff member that's come into the team to address just that. So there has been progress, especially through the likes of Kay, who've been helping us to develop those relationships, and they have certainly been on the move. But this dedicated staff member will now be able to get all the documentation set up with the different variety, because we're not putting them into the numbers until they're really well set up. So a lot of progress has been made, but it's just that kind of final tick off.
Thank you. Thank you. So before I go on, actually, I should have welcomed Liz Wairiri Hunt. Welcome for the first time. And also ex-councillor Hickey, and I hope homesickness has not brought you back here, my friend. Hand it over to you, Mr. Watson.
Yeah, we weren't going to talk about risk and emergency management. We've done that quite well. It's great, certainly emergency management. Some of the statistics are actually up here. But just going back on risk management, there has been a lot of work done in the deputy and insurance area across a number of the different council functions. A lot of work on local water done well, doing both an external and an internal risk assessment. So there are ranges we've been working on council sites. Risk review, and I'll see the first draft of that report next week, and that will ultimately define the the council. We've done quite a bit of work on fraud and corruption, and brought in the team's fraud office to present both to the lead team, but also to the wider staff. Full day, part of the day on fraud and corruption in general, and then one very specific on procurement and how that can be a lever to support fraud, but also to the first line of things as well. Sorry, we need to do that. And then again, just on the insurance, we did financial data analytics, just checking payments, checking payroll, and just looking through, is there anything that's sort of looking amiss in this, as well as a deep dive on the procurement and picking up 5 specific procurements to look at that as well. So a lot of work in that area.
Just Graham, probably just before you move off that slide, and just provide some assurance to council, that last bullet point under the risk deep dives, council sites risk review, that was initiated post Mount Maunganui event. Obviously Clifton came from that as well as an immediate action, but staff have been working through and looking across all of council sites, and understanding where our risks lie and what work needs to be done. And as Mr. Watson alluded to, that's coming back to the lead team next week as a first blush, and we'll work our way through that and bring that to you in due course as well.
I will remember at some point in time. Yeah, just to keep the way we're building up that capability, and then then that's all on sort of risk, and then we're moving into strategy data and technology.
Kia ora, councillors, through you, Chair. So we've got, I've got Warren Perry with me, who's been leading our IT work, so he can talk with more authority on the considerable work program across IT. But I thought we'd cover the 3 key parts of the group: strategy, IT, and records. So essentially in strategy, the 2 key focus areas really are building the strategic foundations for your LTP, and that has included the strategic reviews that we've been working through with you, and then helping to, lead and represent HDC in those complex regional and governance arrangements, and I'll talk about that in more detail. So in terms of key achievements, we've worked with you on the strategic framework, on the background briefs. We've established a clear base for our planning work. We've got the strategic reviews work well underway, and that continues now, and that will help inform and shape the decisions ahead of you over the next couple of months. We have been involved, some of them are a bit more high profile, like Clifton Campground, But we have at any one time a portfolio of strategic projects that don't neatly fit in other areas of the business, or where there's a need for quite specific project management. So that includes the natural hazards work that Dean leads with Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and assistance with Tau Moana, and Kim's previous work on Amakura. So a bunch of things in that area. You'll be aware of the work that we did on the wind down of the Regional Economic Development Agency, and then picking up the legacy issues with the Tarai lease, and helping to resolve and reduce quite a bit of financial exposure to councils. More recently, there's been simplifying local government, which has been a bit of work, and that will continue. We've also been leading the AI adoption work across council, and at the appropriate point we'll have a deeper conversation. In fact, at our LTP workshop tomorrow, we'll get into some of the implications on that. But that's essentially built that program from scratch, building the guardrails, training people, creating champions, and we're well into kind of use cases and pilots. The team also is responsible for economic development. That mainly sits with me. We'll have a talk about that tomorrow. And then the broad climate action work program, which has really been refocused into where we have some responsibility of our own emissions, and our clear lead on adaptation related work across our regulatory and planning functions. So on technology, it's been a really busy year on major delivery, and I might pass to Warren. Did you want to talk to your major delivery program?
Right, that's a bit of a surprise. I didn't know I was going to be presenting this. So yeah, some of the key deliveries, look, lots of different projects, just some to call out. Objective build, moving off consenting product to a different product there. N8 within assets, better project management solution, and InfoKitty, our internal intranet. When it comes to connecting, we moved our contact center over to Zoom CX. So that was with moving from Mitel, which was a solution that was going out of support. So almost a forced move, but it was really good because Zoom CX has AI natively built into it. So it's delivered a lot of benefits to the contact center. Another big move was moving all of council across to Teams calling, so consolidation of solutions. We were already using Teams as a Microsoft product. It made sense, and there was some savings there. A big piece of work is Hawke's Bay Regional Technology Services, so that's really around our shared services, and the next slide goes into a little bit more detail about that. But a big piece of the work is building a regional network, so that's bringing the 4 councils within Hawke's Bay, excluding Wairoa, onto exactly the same infrastructure. So again, for simplifying local government, we have that underlying infrastructure already in place. Under Protect, we introduced FACT24 as an incident management program for managing events. We brought the museum and archive building online on all the technology required around that. Our document management solution was upgraded to the latest version, and some work within Miranda, the records team, just on archiving. So these are the 2 biggest pieces of work. So Hawke's Bay Regional Technology Services, as I said, we've brought all councils together. We're all using the same basis for our cybersecurity, on the same firewall as a service. Reduction of resourcing required to manage that. We're also on the same wide area network. That's still work in progress. We're busy rolling that out at the moment. As well as just the overall, that entire project, we have the potential over the next 10 years, a $7.8 million saving, and we're already seeing some significant savings being delivered through that work. So it's certainly something I'm extremely proud of anyway. And then off to the side, another massive chunk of work is Project Genesis. I think everyone is well aware of what's happening there, but council made the decision to stop that, move away from Technology One, and we're still in that procurement process of looking at a new provider.
Brilliant, thank you, Warren. And then working in the background is our really hard-working records team. They don't get, a lot of acknowledgement, but they are keeping us really clean and safe, making sure that our insight, knowledge and records are available for us so that we can make good decisions. So there's just a little bit of information on what they've been up to, file structures, archival vaults, really good detailed work. It's fascinating if you're ever interested in being, I'm serious, and been shown some of the old records. And
Simon is.
Hey? Simon is? All right, Simon. That's Craig's just mentioned a key thing there to highlight is that there's really significant work underway to migrate old physical cemetery records into an online database. That's really, it's a lot of work, and it's just ongoing. But once we've done that, then we'll have beautiful, clean records, and it'll make it so much easier for everyone involved. Touch wood. To answer any questions.
Questions? Councillor Milmine.
Thank you. I'm just referring to the page 25 of the report and the little number, so it might not be, it's our HUD page. It's about the Hawke's Bay Regional Technology Services. So it talks about now, obviously, their business and the impact that's going to have on us. So what's D-Day and how's that procurement or how's that progressing? Sorry.
It's keeping me busy. The deadline we were told initially was the end of the year. It has now been officially stated as we have to be off all these services by the end of November. So we've lost a month. So yeah, we have good plans in place. We're out at the market at the moment for a joint procurement for internet services provider. Voice services, we have a partner that can probably take over everything exactly as they are. And then our wireless as a service is probably the service that we worry the most about. So that does affect public Wi-Fi, but we're working very, very actively to try and make sure that there's no disruption of service there. But we are extremely, extremely pushed. It's very, very tight timelines.
Just to add to your list. Thank you.
Yes, through Chair, if I could just add a comment to that. I think that's just an example of an external decision that's put enormous pressure on one department of council. It's systematic of what's going on elsewhere as well, but I think that decision of for now to pull out of the corporate business has had a very, very big impact. So not only on the staff themselves, but it's also layering on a whole lot of extra costs that council hadn't anticipated this financial year. So I think part of a conversation that we need to have with council around council finances, the current budget, the direction given around savings targets, but overlaying that where we know we're incurring additional costs that just wasn't budgeted or foreseen, and how we're dealing with that.
Thank you. One more question, if I may, through you, Chair. So in the next page is about the Flowingly process map migration, and it just mentions one of the risks is the specialist functionality that was previously available in ProMap isn't available currently in Flowingly. Is there plans for that functionality to be built, or is it being developed?
Yes, that's correct, and it's really very much in Craig Hughes' area. So we're actively working with them. Flowingly, it's very much a new startup, but they've taken local government by storm. There probably isn't a council that isn't using them at the moment. Fantastic organisation to work with, and they've taken up our requirements and are actively working on that. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Through you, Chair, just to build on that, largely that's across the water area, and what it was a compliance piece around. So if we have a set procedure that an officer needs to be aware of, it actually has a double check that they have to affirm that they're aware of it. So the approach with Warren's team at the moment is that water team, because they're going to be moving out as well, is unless it's there, we'll just leave them alone rather than a change on a change. So we do, it's a managed risk. It's just an extra bit of that functionality flowing adding. It will add value to the business later as well, as you have key procedures you need to have good control over.
Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Chair. Just keen to understand the progress on Scope 3 and how the climate change workshop plan is going.
Can we bring that, perhaps we have a workshop or a separate session, or we can bring that back to you?
Yep, take that as action. Cool. No more computer questions or, oh, sorry, Mayor Solomon, sorry.
I'm just keeping you on your toes, Mr. Chair. Thank you, and through you. I'm really conscious of some of the news that we've heard recently, particularly out of Tauranga, in terms of historical information and access thereto. So you've piqued my interest by talking about records and archives, although I'm sure it's in a slightly different context. I'm interested to understand what it is our organisation is or has historically tried to do in terms of making sure that important historic reports or thoughts are surfaced when bodies of work are revisited. Any comment on that? And it's okay if this is to be brought back to us later.
Thank you, through you, Chair. We actually do have a piece of internal work at the moment looking at where council might have exposure across the area, its areas of responsibility, the things that it owns, the things that it's, and so that's led by the risk team, but a bunch of us are feeding into that. So that's one part of the answer, because that's really critical that we understand where our exposure and where the opportunities to reduce that risk. I think one of my observations, being relatively new to the records area, is that once we have things in records, unless you kind of know that it exists, it's really hard to go and find it unless you're really good at searching. And this is why I'm really excited about AI, because by first quarter next year, except we have to give the IT team some space to deal with keeping the lights on. But the next version of Content Manager will have AI integrated in it, or allow plugins via AI tools that will give us a much deeper ability to go and trawl the system and our insight and knowledge. So I'm really excited for those of us who write reports on a daily basis, that it's going to be able to make our job so much easier. So it doesn't fully answer your question, but we've got some opportunities coming up to flag that stuff.
Through you, Chair, and I think, Mr. Charteris, you've actually given me a degree of peace of mind there. I was hoping you would say exactly that we're looking at AI systems and how that can surface exactly what we're talking about, because as you say, you don't know what you don't know. So thank you.
Yep. Wonderful to see your eyes light up, Mr. Charteris, when the word AI was mentioned. Councillor Milmine.
Sorry, another one from me. So page 32, the infrastructure modernisation program. I note that due to lots of organisational priorities, there's been a delay, and we have a couple of end of supports coming up pretty fast. And we're hearing about the strain on our resource. Are we worried about that?
Through you, Chair, we have a work program which covers off all critical work, which does cover that. So we have factored that in, and we've resourced accordingly. So whether that be with internal resources or needing to get assistance from outside. Yep.
Great, as long as you're not pushing yourselves too hard. Working 24 hours a day. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, just it goes to Bruce's point that we will have a conversation. We have needed to bring in extra resource, including specialist resource, in order to deal with critical matters. So we can pick that up in another conversation.
Wonderful. No more. Thank you, Mr. Charteris. Mr. Perry, thank you very much.
Now we move on to Community Facilities and Services with Mr. Nwiri.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. As you'll be aware, I have 8 areas within my group, so I did really challenge the team to come up with 3 bullet points that said their year in review, which was difficult, but I'll try and keep it quite high level. But firstly, if we go to arts and culture, and I've put the name of the manager that looks after these areas because real, kudos to these people for working really hard throughout the year to keep these different areas going. But in terms of arts and culture, that includes Toi Toi, the art gallery, and new into that area is Waiaroha as well. So that's looked after by Colt. But the facilities continue to deliver, obviously, a vibrant number of programs and performances and events. And over the year, there was actually 416 of these that occurred in those facilities. They had really good performance, especially in Toy Toy this year. So they have come in under budget, and the amount of that will be announced by Graham in the future. But it was 107,746 visitors across this area in the last year. So we do really reach, a big proportion of our community. And with Waiaraha going into that team as well, it's enabled us to really spread resources throughout those three areas. So in terms of cleaners at Toy Toy, for example, are able to get over to Waiaraha and help over there. So that's been a really good part of the year as well. Moving on to security, that is led by Clint Adamson. As you know, it includes City Assist, Kaitiaki, CCTV, and our Skate Park Guardian. On this, we actually have got a workshop coming to you tomorrow to talk to you about that in regards to the LTP. But they've really delivered value and service resilience through procurement this year. In terms of procurement, we have a new contractor in regards to our night security and alarm response, which actually saved over 270,000 over 3 years. And in terms of our CCTV server procurement, we saved about 47,000 than what we expected to spend on that as well. So we've had some really good wins there, and some of that was able to employ a public spaces ranger. I don't know if you remember, but we were getting some really huge number of complaints around people staying in our beach reserves for extended periods of time, and this has enabled someone to actually go out and form those relationships and enabled them to help them move on and find other places to stay. The community confidence in our security is really high as well. As you're aware, we help the police with a number of investigations across the district, and some very serious investigations that police have dealt with that our team have been able to help them with. So really good and positive feedback there from police, but also the Hastings City retailers in regards to City Assist as well. We've done well in terms of our monitoring, so our CCTV monitoring is at 79% against a target of 70%. So we've only had 2% downtime in the system. So again, really good coverage. And we've worked with community to help fund more CCTV as well. So Twyford, for example, Tomato Peak, Parkify, we were able to put more CCTV in all of those areas, and they're all part funded by those communities as well. Other cameras have been gone in our community centres, and also just some end-of-life ones in Havelock as well. So a really big program there across security and CCTV. In terms of the building and property assets, we've got Sam Hayes now in there, who's new to the team. We've had quite a bit of change in staffing there over the last year or so, but we actually have 367 building assets that we look after in that area, so it's a number of assets. Again, we're having a workshop with you on that tomorrow. I guess one of the biggest things there is that the team delivered Te Pāhara Keke, which, as you know, is our 39 beautiful elder housing residences, and that's been a real highlight of the year. And we're really progressing to understand our assets at the moment, and our portfolio in general in terms, and again, we'll talk more in terms of that tomorrow at our workshop. There's been lots of major renewals and upgrades across libraries, community facilities, housing, and the sports centre as well. We've had WSP working on a number of building asset conditions, so they've done 95 of our building assets as well to give us improved data around that. Moving on to Kate Peterson, who looks after our community centres, libraries, cemetery, the cremator and elder housing. So she's got a big portfolio in there. The building team built Te Pāhara Keke, and Kate's team has actually now got that full. So you'll be glad to know that people have either moved in or people are allocated, bonds have been paid. So we're full that now, which is brilliant, which is a really good outcome from there. They've had amazing program uptake across all her facilities. And just to give you a few Stats, so we've had 439,000 visitors through the doors of the library. We actually think that's a bit low. Our counter's on the blink a bit, so it'll be higher than that. And we've had 708,000 virtual visits, which was through our website or our library app. So, you know, really good reach into community. Each week, 7,800 physical items were borrowed from our libraries, and that's alongside 1,500 digital issues each week as well. So, you know, that's huge touch. We've had 188,000 resources, e-resources access, which is our sort of databases, platforms, etc. They've had 769 events and activities with over 10,000 attendees. And a further 3,300 people were part of all the literacy programs that went on, especially in the school holidays. There has been 2,100 bookings of spaces, which is around 40 different groups using the spaces weekly. We've facilitated 384 outreach engagements, and we've helped 154 families get Skinny Jump, which is a system that they can get internet at home. But despite that, our own internet usages remain strong, so we've had 44,900 computer sessions at the library as well. So I guess those stats are just to highlight, you know, how many people engage with our community facilities. So moving on, we then have regulatory solutions. It's headed up by John. You've had a couple of workshops on that recently. It's our animal control, parking and environmental health. They've had some real improvements in parking systems, and they've continued to support the community around dogs, environmental health, etc. A few stats for you there too. We've had 2,281 registered dogs. The team have dealt with 2,520 complaints, 1,254 roaming dogs, 669 barking dogs, 65 attacks. They've impounded 748 animals and had 98 stock incidents. They've successfully adopted out 45 dogs. They've dealt with 1,582 noise complaints after hours, 42 smoke complaints after hours, 25 licences premises has been visited, and 526,000 cars have been read by our licence plate recognition car, which has resulted in 12,000 offences, which is 2.3%. So again, I'm just trying to highlight the depth of work that these teams do. Moving on, we've had Rachel Stewart looking after our parks and open spaces. I think you're well aware here of we've had some major public spaces projects such as the Grant Street and Tijuana playground renewals. She's successfully transitioned Clifton Reserve and Farndon Park back into direct council management. They're both works in progress, and really just strengthened our partnerships and planning across parks and reserves. And I know Rachel gave you a number of stats on her area recently. Just highlight a couple. So, you know, that team look after 748 hectares of reserve land, 17,000 street and park trees, 472 protected trees, 100 bridges and culverts. I could go on and on, 395 hanging baskets, some pumps and some bores and a whole lot of irrigation assets. And I've got a whole list here, but I know she went through that with you thoroughly the other day. Then we move on to Emma Morgan, who looks after our community development and strategy, and hence I was able to answer some of the questions around the community resilience, because this team really does assist Regan around the emergency preparedness. But one thing I'm not sure, you know that they look after our grants, but they also have a function to bring in some funding as well. And so just to highlight some of that, just so you know, and it's not necessarily funding for council to keep, but it's funding that we apply for that we can then pass on to the community. So we received 5,000 of external funding from the Office of the Seniors to support our age-friendly needs assessment. We got 400,000 for the Toitu Torea Festival. We got 67,000 from the Lottery Environment and Heritage to help with the cenotaph work. We had 35,000 from Trust House to help with the Learn to Swim for Flaxmere school children at the Flaxmere Pool. We got 88,000 from ECCT, which was to help us. We had to get 20% to enable some more funding to come in from ECCA, which was 400,000. So that was to enable solar. And the solar, some of that solar was for our rural hubs and things like that, but some was actually for our Flaxmere Community Centre as well. So some of that funding we do get to keep ourselves for our own facilities. So again, just trying to highlight what the teams are doing. And in terms of sport and rec, the last of the 8 areas, obviously that's headed up by Tom Page, that we've successfully trialled some year-round activation at Splash Planet. I'll talk more about that in a moment. And as you know, he's advanced the regional aquatic strategy and aquatics asset planning work and really supported strong participation. So, for example, in the pools, we had 128,000 visitors, 551 tots participated in aquatots, 3,068 people were involved in aqua aerobics, and 15,667 people attended different sessions of Learn to Swim. So, you know, that's a lot of people attending Learn to Swim sessions. In terms of the sports centre, we had 128,500 visitors, 73 tumbling tot sessions, and it goes on and on. 94 users bookings for casual courts. Lots of fundamental skills programs for our tamariki who need some extra help around skills development. So there's some really fantastic things going on. As you know, there's been some really interesting trials happening at Splash Planet over the winter. You'll know the Illuminate event has been really successful, 24,000 attendees, the majority from Napier Hastings. There were 178 volunteers involved in that, and there was 1,100 responses to the survey, so really good survey results. 94% saying they'd attend again, and 97% wanting to see it returning to Splash Planet next year. So that's our group. In terms of challenges, I won't go through these one by one because they're actually, you'll read, they're all actually really similar. There's a real key theme here, which is the team are finding that we've got increasing community expectations all the time. And of course, we've got increasing fiscal challenges now. So it's how do we manage that community expectation versus our fiscal challenge. And the other thing that comes through as well in all these areas is that we know that we do have ageing assets in a lot of areas, and so trying to manage our programs and levels of service and what we're trying to deliver to community with these increasing asset costs as our assets age. And again, we'll talk more about that at the workshop tomorrow, but these are real common themes that are coming through across all the areas, and of course legislative changes in the regulatory area. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Dunwoody. That's quite a lot. End of quote. Questions? Councillor Milmine.
Through you, Chair. Thank you very much for that very comprehensive update. So aquatics, page 34, it mentions the Hawke's Bay Regional Aquatic Centre is being used for most of the school swimming or school bookings currently because there is a higher level of grant subsidy. Do we know how long, or is there any certainty around how long that grant subsidy will be in place?
Through you, Chair, I don't have the specifics around that, although I know generally, obviously, they're finding it harder and harder to get grants and support. We've been really lucky to continue to get that support for Flaxmere schools for our own Learn to Swim. But yeah, we are working closely with the regional aquatic centres. So I can certainly find that out.
If you could, because it's actually taking away from the Flaxmere pool, so while it's positive for one, it's not so much. So it would be good to understand that, please.
Cool, take that as an action. Thank you, Councillor Milmine. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Chair. Just keen to understand, is there any central government funding for the CCTV program, since we're paying for quite a lot of it?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. No, there isn't any government funding available, but we are constantly scanning all external funding opportunities, as you would have sort of noted from what we do get. There is a Proceeds of Crime Fund that we apply to whenever it's open, which we usually apply to for CCTV, extra CCTV. However, this last round was so, the number of applications got so high that they actually even stopped taking applications for that. So there isn't any specific funding, but we're constantly trawling to look for what we can apply for.
Yep. Councillor Milmine?
Thank you. Sorry, another one for you. With regard to the animal control, you mentioned the figure around stock. What was that? Was it 89?
Through you, Chair, it's 98 stock incidents.
Thank you. And do you break down by rural and urban for those visits? Does your data?
For the stock?
No, for all call outs.
Yes, I think we can. I haven't got that in front of me, sorry, but
Just if you've got that information in future. Thank you.
Cool, take that as action as well. Your Worship?
Just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the huge amount of mahi that's gone into listening to our community's calls for us to make Splash year-round, and the innovative ways that have been looked at that. I keep hearing from the community that they love Spooky Planet and they loved the Easter thing and whatnot. So I think, there's a recipe for success there for sure, and thank you to the team for the efforts on that. I'm really interested to understand, I see under youth employment, the NEETS numbers are listed there, not in employment, education or training our young people. While this is a space that we can have a limited effect in, especially in an impending rates cap environment, I'd just be very interested to understand in these reports how that's trending, up, down, stabilising, whatever, while it might be an area that strategically we have to think carefully about with rates cap incoming. I think it is an area of significant impact in our community, so staying informed would be really good. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Ratcliffe?
Thank you, and through the chair. Just looking at the aquatics numbers, comparison between Clive Memorial pools and the Flaxmere pools. Obviously, Flaxmere was closed for painting for a period, but still quarter on quarter, Flaxmere's having a pretty cracking quarter. Clive, on the other hand, not so good, especially with the other bookings and events. More other bookings and events this time last year than in the last two quarters combined, by the looks of it. Was that an unusually good quarter for Clive Memorial pools this time last year, or did something go really well last year, or is something going badly this year? Sorry, page 32 in the report.
Apologies, councillor, through you, Chair. I'll need to look into that and get back to you if that's all right. Thank you.
Take that as an action as well. Yep. Councillor Corbyn?
Thank you, Chair. This is a question on the reports. Will this go on the hub, the slides that we've seen today that weren't included in this? Yeah, thank you. And then the second is this report. Last time we had it, there was a bar with the financials. Annual budget, year-to-date spend, et cetera, and I found that really useful. And I think I even said that at the meeting and asked whether it could be incorporated as a summary at the end as well. So has that dropped off, or are we going to keep getting that?
Well, it's just purely timing. Just now we're just in the process of closing off the accounts for the year, so we weren't in a position to put those numbers in to the report. But when it comes to November, you'll see the first quarter results in there, and we're just endeavouring to find the best way to then do the summary that you also asked for, councillor. So that's a work on for us just now.
Yeah, that's great, because I think it's really useful when we talk about financial constraints, et cetera. It helps put things into context.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Corbyn. Councillor Watkins?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Chair. Just two items mentioned which I'd really like us to keep an update on: the town clock and Sun Trap. The Sun Trap. Those two items are icon items in the central Hastings, and I'd really like us to have an update all the time. Keep those right in front of mind. Thank you.
Yep. Take action on that as well. Thank you, councillor Hawkins. Your worship.
Through you, Chair, just noting that I see within the reports that there, it has been shared with us in this report that the Sun Track won't be able to go back where it was due to various reasons. So it'd be interesting to understand in the future what the future of that will be. It is wonderful as well to see that the PO have, that the intended PO are going to be funded through the Abbott bequest. I think that'll be very important to communicate to the community so they don't get confused as to who's funded that. So thank you.
Yep, thank you, Bishop. Councillor Lorcan.
Thank you, through your chair, just to come to Mayor Sean's question about the Sun Trap. I believe that Rachel and the open team spaces are looking for a potential alternative area in Hiratanga Street West where the Sun Trap can be anchored perhaps to existing buildings as opposed to being anchored to the ground where it was over the railway. But I will come back to you on that. Cool.
Thank you, councillor Lorcan. Thank you, Mr Dinwoody. Statement and pause came out today and said about 10% of council's activities on average are discretionary. And many of your areas are in that, are the areas that obviously council loves and will probably come under most pressure. And it's good to see that you are looking for and receive external funding, but I think the community needs to know in times of a 4% rate cap, these areas will come under pressure because infrastructure takes the big bulk of it. So, yeah. But thank you, Mr Dinwoody, and your team. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We'll now move into to customer engagement and pass just the clicker. We've got Ms Joyce coming down to.
Oh, we've only got one slide.
Yeah.
We were told one slide, so we did one slide. Nobody else did one slide.
First time that guy's ever done anything.
So it won't take you a minute to read it.
What's in a microfiche?
Yeah, so that's just some highlights of the year. A lot of that reflects the amount of engagement that leaps up every time we have an emergency event. So some of you will have seen the massive number of people that we had responses to emails in that report. That is generally going up all of the time, but is massively inflated by the amount of interactions we had during Cyclone Baianu. Yeah, so take it as read, really. Any questions on that slide or on anything in that section of the report?
Thank you, Chair. Does customer service and experience fall under what you're talking about now?
It does. It's probably more Naomi than me, but she's on leave, so see if I can help.
So I'm just looking at this after hours call centre. Percentage of calls answered in 20 seconds. It's dropped from 81% last quarter to 58% this quarter.
It seems very odd. I will check that with that team and come back to all of you on that.
So the follow-up to that is, if it is a
It is
measure
real.
that we've got in place with them, what action are we taking
Yep,
about that?
absolutely.
Cool, take that as an action as well. Councillor Milmine.
Thank you. Page 66 about the Taumona Showgrounds. It mentions under the resource a capacity strain relating to governance program. What's that referring to? Just in the
page, which one, sorry?
66. Sorry.
It's in that metrics table. That's the resource. 65, you're 66. It's 66, yeah. It's your first page of your section.
So in the resource of the section, it mentions the capacity strain relating to governance program.
No, I'm sorry again, we'll have to come back to you on that.
Through you, Chair, possibly it relates to, I guess, where we're up to in the development of the governance arrangements with the Timuwana Showgrounds Trust. The two new trustees have been appointed, they're bedding in. I think there's a lot of governance work required to really get the trust operating. We need to have the lease arrangements in place, clear delineation of responsibility between council and the trust, and I think that's a key constraint at the moment. Until we get all that bedded in, the trust is really struggling to move forward.
Councillor
Thank you,
Corbyn.
Chair. I'm looking at the marketing, tourism and experience page, and there seems to be quite a significant drop-off in website visits, etc., etc. I'm just wondering whether that you can correlate that with reduced funding for Hawke's Bay tourism, or is there some other consideration in there?
Thank you for your question. Through you, your chair. That is actually, at the moment, that relates to the economic development website, the hastingsnz.com, and currently that's at a very basic holding pattern. It hasn't had content refreshed. It's sort of sitting there while we transition it into a better site. So it's not having as much content refreshed at the moment, and that's what I think some of that traffic
So it's a
contributes to.
change of platform.
Yeah. So it will pick back up once it gets its attention
So
back on it.
related to that, I see that's being developed, and there was a comment about great things grow here in that sentence. Is great things grow here being disestablished?
Yes, what we're going to do is Great Things Grow Here will still remain as a tagline and as a service, but it's not going to be the website anymore. It'll be hastingsnz.com, where people can go and find all the economic development information that they need, as well as tourism information and sort of live, work and play stuff. Because at the moment it sits under Great Things Grow Here, and it's not clear that it's Hastings specific.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Your worship.
Through you, Chair, not a question, but a comment, if I may. A budget of 50K for sponsorships and achieved 191. I just want to acknowledge that. That's huge. Well done, team.
Indeed. Yep.
Just on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a very conservative budget that was put in there, and that figure does include a ticket revenue, so it's all revenue that we've generated, not just sponsorship. I don't want you to.
But still,
Yeah, we're really proud and pleased.
The task that we set was, if you want some of these events to happen, go find funding. Well done.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Roebuck. I would have said thank you very much. It was hard work, but thank you. That's me. Councillor Milmine.
Thank you, through you, Chair. In the digital communications, it mentions increased digital resourcing. Just wondering how many pages are currently being managed by the team?
We have one digital services person, and we have, off the top of my head, about 13 pages that he looks after, plus LinkedIn, plus a very low level of print that plus he also does all that videography and photography. So
yes. So has there been, have you looked at maybe
it's a budget line.
the 13 pages that he's managing? Have you looked at maybe consolidating them, or has that been something you might review? It seems a lot.
It is a lot. Some of them we keep because they are a specific audience. Several times we've looked at getting rid of the skate park one, but it is an audience of young males that we don't have anywhere else in our Facebook teams. I don't care if we don't come to them all the time. We're not looking for high engagement on that Facebook page, but when we want to talk specifically to young males, we used it last for the smoke-free consultation. I don't know if it was the last one, might have been the one before that, and got a hell of a lot of engagement from young men and young women, but more young men who felt strongly about smoke-free. So rather than, we're not going to migrate that age group to our HDC one. So I prefer to keep them so they're an option.
Yeah,
He doesn't have to actively manage them.
Just wondering, at some point, if you get a moment,
Yep.
if you could let us know what pages.
Yeah, sure.
And we can try and support or share or anything as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. If you've got other young men audiences.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, it's taken as an action. Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a question regarding Lantern Festival. My understanding was that we might have paused 27 and come back in 28 with something bigger, but my understanding, I was told, that decision hasn't been made. So I need to know, because I'm starting to tell people from the China end and schools, don't worry about paintings for next year because we're on hold. And then I'm told, no, we're not on hold, the decision hasn't been made. So can somebody just tell me what's happening, please?
Just on that, councillor, that was a matter that was canvassed with you at a workshop where decisions don't get made. And so we were looking to see what the appetite was for these things. And I know the team is working as quickly as possible to get a decision because they know the long lead time that you need for this. So we will get back to you just
Next
as
week.
quick as we, next week.
Yep. Thank
Yep.
you.
Good as
please.
gold.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. So there being no questions, we're actually going to take probably a 10-minute break because infrastructure, we don't want to shortchange you, Mr. Thu. So we'll probably just have a 10-minute break, and then those of you who are joining us from live stream may like to join us in about 10 minutes time. Thank you. Welcome back, and welcome back anybody that's come back online. Just before we go to Mr. Thu, Ms. Joyce will just do
One thing.
one thing.
One thing. You'll see in front of you a replacement page 69. That's because the key program outcomes table on the bottom left, we had a copy and paste error. So it had repeated pieces from up the top of the table. Now you have one that has actually got the full correct table in front of you, including the newsletter information down the bottom. No questions on that?
Questions? No,
Done.
all good. That was very brief. Right, Mr. Thu, just hand it straight to you, or Mr. Watson first? Mr. Thu.
Afternoon, councillors. Thank you all, and also just want to thank my team who put together the slides while I was away off sick. So thank you to Chris, my EA, and my managers, Darren. Also introduce at the back, many of you may not know Jasper. So Jasper is in our Three Waters team, who is our wastewater and stormwater asset manager in that team now, and he's sitting with Kelly, who many of you will know, who's our strategic asset manager within the Three Waters team. What this slide is just a really brief summary. It is not our full accounts. Mr. Watson and Mr. Wilson will report those. So these are unaudited numbers, but they're also only numbers that go through our new project delivery office. And just on the project delivery office, that is a feature and a reorganisation that we did, that we signed off in September and started implementing before Christmas. So I think it was whilst it's not a building thing, it's a key mechanism that the organisation has created. Massive help from our people and capability team, Darren and his team and leadership, just creating a team which is seeing us doing more work internal and less with our consultants, but also driving a whole pile of consistency across our capital delivery, our relationships with our suppliers, our relationship with our funders. So just a massive thanks to Darren and the team for the great work that they've done. You will see up in here that we had a goal of a bit more than we managed to spend. So we're about $50 million short. I'll talk through on the next slide how that works through. Largely though, that's not all savings, so that's not something we've saved. There are some savings in that, particularly in the recovery area where jobs came in less than we'd earlier estimated, but a lot of it is around rephasing it. Some of it because of funding timing, working with our government partners at NIF and at NZTA. Some of it around land access, and a large one in the wastewater space where it took a bit longer and we rephased the level of spend across our wastewater program. So when we break it down, it's a bit hard to see, but you'll have these slides. Across Three Waters, the big one is the wastewater, which was the deferral and rephasing of the multi-million-dollar project out of the wastewater treatment plant. And we just did some rephasing around some of the drinking water, which also includes expenditure which we won't spend until the Ministry of Health guarantees the funding that will offset our expenses for the fluoridation work at Wilson Road. So just because we haven't spent it doesn't mean you also had less rates, because that was net zeroed out. We only spend once we get the funding. You'll also see in Transport BAU that we spent more than the budget, but we also had a higher subsidy rate for a number of resilience projects, so it didn't change the local share element. The cyclone recovery, a lot of that's around just the rephasing and the timing of some of the NZTA funding and getting approvals. You also see that we've started to reduce from previous years as we start to break the back of the cyclone recovery and we get into the last of the structures and the last of the road rebuilds. Growth, this is just the growth that's gone through the PDO, so it didn't include the money that was spent in Iona Road, which is through a development agreement. That largely goes to, we don't do growth until everything's lined up, so there was funding aside for Brookvale and all sorts of things, and we've got law, court orders and all sorts of things that need to happen. The other cost is largely the landfill, the work out in Martin's area with the support of the landfill development. In terms of notable projects, obviously we talked about the wastewater outfall and the upgrade out at the treatment plant. Really critical, really risky, really big project. One that we'll be looking to meet with the Waterhawke's Bay board to make sure they fully understand it, because they will pick up that project and run with it. but also importantly, at East Clive's commencing the long-term strategy. So what is actually the long-term approach to managing that site? Is there a point in choices to move away from that site? That work will get started and then get handed through to the Water Board to make decisions on. Out at Whirinaki, the reservoir has progressed really well and the commissioning is underway. The leak testing to the roof has been completed and there's other commissioning just prior to going fully live. I guess the key project, which would have been lovely to have reported on more progress, is we're still hunting for good water or a solution for the replacement of the Esk Whirinaki supply. As you're previously aware, we dug a really deep hole into the ground and didn't find enough quality water. So the team are still working through the option of connecting to Napier City or finding another water source out there to make sure that we can meet the Esk Hills and Whirinaki water supply requirements. The work has continued along the Mahu Road with the water main down there, and that work will continue through this financial year as well with the further stages. And the Havelock Stream works that Darren's been leading out around the 2C and all the work through those multiple stages is progressing well. That's all funded via both HBRC and NIF, the National Infrastructure Fund. But there is also the wider strategy work that we've been meeting with the community groups on that we'll also have to sit down with the Water Hawke's Bay board, have a think about what's in the statement of expectations around how we'd expect the board to carry on with that project and conversations, because there is substantial hazards and ongoing investment requirement around the dams, increasing the flood resilience in Havelock North. And there is some hazard mapping information that will come to you not in the not too distant future around where flooding exists and what potential mitigations are in that space. I guess in the Three Waters space, there's a lot of work going on for local water done well, which isn't about building things, but about setting up to make sure that we maintain control of the services whilst they sit with us, but also make sure it hands over and so it doesn't lose control in that transfer. So making sure they're getting all the information requirements, which is a pretty heavy load across finance, across the water team, across people and capability at the moment as we keep the lights on as well as try and feed that machine. Around the Havelock Streams.
I was waiting for the, are we okay for questions? Okay. Hold the line, caller. Right. Thank you, and through you, the chair. Okay. I've been, it's kind of a, it's a question / statement. I've been hearing a bit of discontent with regards to the streams and dams from one of the bridge raise issues resulting in a resident's privacy coming into question, as in the now the pedestrian access, pedestrians can see directly into this person's home. My question is, A, is that true? B, what have we done to fix it? And C, how much is it costing us to sort out?
Through you, Chair. Good question. Yes, raising a bridge obviously impacts the properties around it. Yeah, I'd be interested to understand the exact property in question, but yes, there's a couple of properties that we're working with the privacy people. The bridge isn't reopened yet, but when it does reopen, you run the risk. It's been raised by about 700 mil, so not quite a metre, but it's enough that you could, if the fencing remains as it is, you can look into the back garden. Our mitigation is to increase the fencing. They don't want any planting. I think I know who you're talking about, probably down the end of Plassey Street. That we'll raise the fencing, so go from a 1.8 metre fence to a 2.4 metre fence, and that's been agreed with them to be able to mitigate that risk. They had some other ideas of closing in the walkway and things like that, but you start getting into some subted, which is essentially some crime prevention issues, specifically down long, skinny walkways. So cost is a project cost, so it's part of the mitigation. When we put in our resource consent and building consent for that bridge, we have to show the effects on neighbours, etc. So it was part of the project. It was considered as part of it. We've been working with residents. No other way really around it to maintain flood mitigation unless we removed the bridge, which is one of their requests and not something we were entertaining because of its community benefit as such.
Supplementary, if I may. if that's the case and we're increasing the fence height, is there going to be problems with consent for that? Because I thought that that would be quite a high fence, and what do the neighbours and that think of?
Yep, high, through your chair, high fence borders the stream, so that's the fence between the stream and the property, so it doesn't impact neighbours as such. We are also lifting, if you walk down the walkway, we're lifting a couple of the fences slightly on either side as well, because there's a ramp from where the raised bridges goes down to maintain mobility access. We obviously can't step it down because we impact mobility. So yeah, it's raising fences as part of it. Project activity to get the consent. So we've got a building consent in. The contractor's actually got that in place. They're busy fence posts are going in now to take the weight of the new 2.4 metre rather than the 1.8 metre. So yeah, it's all part of the project. We made a commitment to those residents. We wouldn't open the new bridge to the public until we sort their fencing issues. So that is in place still.
Thank you.
Right. Yep.
Appreciate it.
And I can say too, because well, chair would be a loose description of what I do, but on that Hamilton North Stream facilitate, and Mr. de Klerk did bring that up with the committee, and they were well informed, and yeah, we canvassed the very well. So yep, but thank you for raising it. Councillor Corbyn, is your question related to Three Waters?
It's here under the stormwater page.
Yep. You may ask.
Okay, thank you. So I've seen a lot of emails about Haggerty Drain, and I just want to know if there's any risk to council between now and when, what's the word here? When compliance is restored. Oh, sorry, remediation and compliance, yeah.
Through you, Chair. There's 2 points to that question. The first one is compliance. So there is a trampoline and stairs that are going down into the basin. That needs to get rectified. That is in train. With regards to the Haggerty Drain, there has been some scouring. We have engaged Stantec, Jess Grinter. She's done an investigation on that just to understand ownership and responsibility. That should be done in about a month. Once that investigation is complete, we'll understand what we need to do. We'll then probably get engineers engaged, if it is us, to rectify and stabilise the bank.
Yep, so the third part of the question was what risk is there to council in the meantime?
There is a risk there. The bank, there is a property that is about 3 metres away from the unstabilised bank. So there is a risk, which is why it's getting dealt with. Yeah. To put it bluntly. Yeah.
As long as we know that there is a risk and it needs to be
Yep, there definitely is a risk. Investigations are underway. Until those investigations are complete, we'll be able to have better answers. Yeah.
Carrying on with the year in review, won't read all through these, but across the transport area, which covers both the cyclone recovery, which has been the large portion of investment and work, and lots of community engagement, and also again thanks to Beck's team with Emma's team out there with those community connectors. So it is very much a cross-council effort across the risk team, the community connectors, and the PDO team working through with all those community groups. A lot of work done, but I would remind you, and you'll see it in the reports, in terms of overall looking after our assets, we are investing well below the long-term sustainable level, and that's because we're not getting the funding support from government, and obviously we reduced this year's spend to align what we got with government. That will require some challenging conversations and thinking as we work into the LTP, particularly in a rates-capped area, and we'll work through with what choices and options exist. And we're also waiting from a transport around what their funding signals are, but at a very macro level, there is no money in the pot unlikely in our forward plan to see any improvement in funding or very much improvement, if any, for transport. So there may be no money for safety, there may be no money for schools, there may be no increase of money for footpaths. So that will create some challenges for council to work through. We're hopeful we'll get some for safety and some particularly for the school safety program. And we've started conversations with some of the local ministers as well to help push. But it will be a challenging period around trying to hold the network with lots, probably may not be the least whole of life, but actually holding maintenance treatments and so forth, just to try and hold the risks through a lower funding period until we get back.
Yep, thank you. On that note, Your Worship.
Thank you through you, Chair, and thank you for highlighting what is a ongoing issue with us in across the country, I'm sure. I would like just to note and ask the Chief Executive that we'll carry this conversation, I think, on at a regional level too, because there needs some significant regional advocacy around this. This will not be a problem that's isolated to us, but it is one that could have significant repercussions for our community if it's allowed to carry on, and we require government to come to the table, especially if a rates cap environment is our future. Otherwise, the very core of services will be undermined. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship.
Just in terms of the growth area, the team, obviously it was started earlier in this last financial year with Mr. Hanson, who then went away to do God's work trying to build flood control in Wairoa, and picked up by JP inside Darren's team. So good progress on a number of projects and quite a lot of work moving forward, particularly moving into that Waipatu area, carrying on that main trunking work to enable growth and development as we move forward.
Yep, Councillor Gibson.
Sorry, it's about the transport. I was a bit too slow.
Right.
I'm just concerned about, as you may or may not realise, Tupori Infrastructure closed their doors, and there's 80 staff that have been made redundant as a result. And having quite a big player being taken out, is there a concern with competition and the prices to go up?
Through you, Chair, I guess there's two parts to your question. Yes, we're aware of a local contractor that's provided staff a 2-week notice period that they are intending to close part of the business. So we understand that the other part of the business, being aggregates and bitumen supply, will remain. Given they are one of our 4 panellists, we're working closely with our key contacts in that. We're yet to see formal notification of any change. We understand that we have about 5 contracts in train they will see to completion. We have a handful of contracts that we've awarded that haven't started. We're working through how we kind of manage that risk. So from a kind of BAU risk, that is okay, it's manageable. We are also supporting their staff in the fact that we're connecting them with other companies for jobs, and I understand talking to them, there's a number that have already picked up or have opportunities with other suppliers, so that is positive. There is no way that we're going to be able to support 70 staff that are affected by it, but we're doing our bit to help with that. Your second part of your question, look, it's not great for the market when we lose a player, particularly a local player. It's healthy for the market to have lots of players and lots of people bidding for work in particular. We are still seeing healthy market turnaround. One of the big opportunities, and you'll note up there, I have 22 business as usual projects, 19 of those being delivered by local contractors. That is largely the area-wide pavement treatment program. And yes, we've had our biggest year this year on that. The contractor in question delivered over 50% of those area-wide pavement treatments, so that is their bread and butter work for us. You could look at it that there's opportunities for those that haven't been delivering the work to kind of pick up that work as a flip side to it. So look, early days in that respect, but look, I think there's opportunity, but there's also great sadness in the fact that we've seen a local supply with lots of jobs, which is something we don't like to see. So,
yep.
Through you, Chair, I think probably it's also really important, and it was a conversation we had with all of our civil contractor players, and if I go back to this chart, you would have seen, obviously, we ramped up from old days to when the cyclone hit, and we programmed through a period of time of heightened investment, but we also signalled there is a point where that level of investment will slow down because we can't just keep printing money just to keep lots of people working. So it was around how do we tone this down and how does that market move out without creating a whole pile of loss and a whole pile of pain. Yes, there's some big bridge projects which are quite specific that move around, but we were never going to sustain the level of activity that we've had over the last couple of years. And you'll see when you start seeing the LTP, like the level of activity really starts bottoming out as we get past a lot of that cyclone recovery. And so we've been signalling that to the market to think about how they would react. It would be great if the regional partners could also, so through this last period, it's been this council and this council keeping its work going that's largely kept the Hawke's Bay civil contracting market along with NZTA with their cyclone recovery. So as our other partners get some work out, and as if the economy turns and the private development kicks in, that will also help sustain a market. But the important part, as Mr. de Kloot talked about, is a number of those really good operators and those people with trained and experiences is connecting them into those other firms so we don't lose that IP and skills and capability. Just a few very high-level images. We obviously, you may remember, we went for a drive down Heathcote Road. That's been done. One stage of a multi-year program along Napier Road has had a rebuild. We did the only road safety project pretty much for local government on the east coast of North Island, which was the Te Maraminga Territory Waimarama Road roundabout. Really just flagging, and we have had a big session with the Infrastructure Delivery Committee. The project coming up on that bottom picture, Havelock Road. There will be a whole program around awareness, because no matter how much work we do, no matter how much we talk to the community, people are going to get annoyed. Unfortunately, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. There'll be a whole pile of work to manage that as best as possible, but it will create annoyances, it will create complaints, and we just need to manage it as best we can as we work that through. And the team have done the best they can to sort of give a solution that's the best in terms of what we can get in terms of NZTA funding support and our local share with a hybrid solution, which the Infrastructure Delivery Committee has gone through quite a detailed workshop working through.
Welcome back, Councillor Nixon.
Thank you. Yeah, been practicing this. Napier Road, you mentioned that. Down towards Lawn Road, it's all, there's cones and more cones, and doesn't look like it's usable, a big chunk of it. I wonder what's happening there. Also, I'll answer the second question, you just answered them both. I had somebody ring up complaining about Maraikakaho Road, particularly in the area of the roundabout on to the industrial area. Irongate, yeah. I had a look at it. I mean, it's certainly not as bad as Napier Road, but it's not good either.
Yeah, we can come back to you around when the timing of Napier Road is, but it goes into that. There is a long list of renewals that you would ideally be doing over the next 2 or 3 years, should the funding be available. Long lengths of Middle Road could do with a rebuild. Lots of parts of Napier Road, and there are many across the network. The team will work through scenarios based on different amount of funding available around how we prioritise, and what you'll tend to see is when the budget gets squeezed is the road rehab, so rebuilding the pavement underneath will drop off because it costs so much, and we'll do patching and resurfacing. So it's a bit like putting bog and another coat of paint on rotting weatherboards, but that's the best to try and hold it to keep a trafficable and safe surface. So Adam and the team from the operations will have a program to try and do the best they can, but obviously the maintenance funds are also limited. So it is about stretching the can of bog and paint as far as we can.
Cassie will be happy to hear that.
I'll just add, sorry, on Napier Road in particular. So we talked a lot about when we ran you through some presentations around how roads are built and how roads fail, etc. The issue that we're having on Napier Road in particular, it's not a project issue, but it's a maintenance issue on that Lawn Road section. It's just water under the subsurface. So they've tried the bog example to patch it and try and keep it open. Every time you patch it, next rain event it blows open again. So it needs a full rip and remake budget is the challenge. So it's trying to nurse the thing and keep it open as long as possible.
Craig just mentioned, I think he said Mill Road, but Lawn Road, I thought we spent a hell of a lot of money, quite recent times, resealing it, reforming it, Lawn Road and Mill Road. I mean, have we got a guarantee, is there some way we can recoup something?
So, no, what I was meaning is Napier Road near Lawn Road is where it's buggered. So Lawn Mill, yes, there was some work done. Tupori did that work. We had to send them back to redo that work because they basically did really poor workmanship, and so they owned that and went back in and rebuilt that. Caused all sorts of grief with our community around doing that, but Darren and the team worked with new management that's no longer with Tupori to take ownership of that to fix that problem.
And it's going to be fixed, or it's been fixed?
It's been
fixed. It's been fixed. Oh, okay. I haven't cycled down there for quite a while. Okay, thank you very much.
Just in terms of a few more images across the three water space, I mean, we could have thousands of photos and you usually see them through other updates. Obviously, Havelock Streams is progressing really well. Really difficult to work in people's private backyards. Just a reminder to council, most of this area is not our land, it's actually people's private land. So part of this long-term strategy will be the company working through with the community of wider Havelock North, what's the level of service and flood control they're willing to pay for. Probably would see a targeted rate or something around that, or there'll be a different charging regime. But also those adjacent to the stream around how much protection from erosion and that, are people willing to pay in exactly the same way the conversation, which is somewhat stalled around coastal protection, it's a very similar analogy. So there are tricky conversations within Havelock North that will need to continue. We will need to pick up the kitty that we've been working with the community and make sure that's handed over to the Waterhawke's Bay Board to own and carry on that conversation. But it will obviously impact this council and particularly around its growth and planning and the risk and hazard overlays that remain in Havelock North depending on the investment. And a number of growth projects, and you will see continued work along Amahu Road, and then there will be work along Karamu Road, which was also discussed at the Infrastructure Development Committee. You'll get these slides. Obviously, the transport recovery is carried on. Not quite as much spent as previous years, but still a lot of big projects. Obviously, Rissington, Bridges in, and we're almost finished the approach work. Dartmoor's going really well, looking to have that open before Christmas. A lot of the road rehabs that we had funding for have been completed. A number of slumps and slips. Still a challenge working through the final sign-off of funding from NZTA on I would call it rats and mice, but it's a sort of multi-million-dollar rats and mice list. Some of those we will come back to council around if it gets too hard around actually what is the level of service we choose to leave. And we've got an ongoing conversation that management will be having with National Infrastructure Fund around the balance of our contract with the Crown, just around making sure we can draw down all of the funds that they signed a contract with us, because we have contingencies. There's a point where you've got contingencies, so it's how do we efficiently and effectively expend the full amount owed to this council based on that contract. Different notes from a solid waste minimisation team. The stats in the table look really, really good around, you could say, look at how great we've dropped waste generation, we've dropped waste disposal. I do need to caveat that when an economy slows, the amount of waste generated. In fact, if you look at the tonnages of the landfill, it's usually a really good indicator prior to the GDP numbers coming through. So the numbers are flattering. We need to see this over a longer term when the economy is sort of balanced through. So it's not uncommon to see waste drop through a period. The team have remained really, really active. A number of good shared initiatives between us and Napier City through the Joint Waste Futures and the Joint Plan. The work around 110 tonnes of plasterboard being recycled, which is really great outcome with the building industry, and we're still continuing to build a stronger relationship and trust with the building sector around opportunities for them to waste less in terms of that C&D waste out to the landfill. We do now thankfully have the new valley available for use and have started putting waste into it, so that makes us far more resilient should we have another shock. Hopefully we don't. So there is capacity, and we're about to start laying in the gas areas for that, so we can start collecting the methane off that. We will stop putting stuff in there for a little while shortly, and so we can close off the old Valley D. And the program at the Education Centre is really kicking into gear with that shared resource, doing the education programs out there. Couple of really big contracts this council signed off in terms of our big maintenance contracts across the transport area, which have all been involved with, and also the extension of the Fulton Hogan 3 water maintenance contract. And just a sort of a context, we've awarded over the last year about 113 contracts. There are still 43 in train, so about 156 going through. But some of those procurements and contracts actually cover many sites. For example, our professional services contract was won many years ago, and there's lots of transactions in there. I've saved you this year from giving you stats around how many complaints and how many people calling about trees and all that, but the team do quite busy. I would say as we work through in the LTP, around that road safety, around the school space, and many of you are aware, we're getting a lot of people wanting things done that we just don't have funding to work through, so we're just going to have to work through an approach for that. That's all. This is questions from the report.
Any questions? No, thank you, Mr. Thur, Mr. de Klerk. I think councillors are always impressed by your depth of knowledge in such a wide area, so we appreciate your work. Thank you. Right, everybody. So that brings. Yep. Brings us to the end of the report. So I'm looking for a mover, Councillor Lorcan, and a seconder, Councillor Watkins. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. So it's no minor or urgent items. So just in conclusion, the report today, I think, shows a really strong performance in all areas over council in terms of qualitative or actual performance of what the money buys. And those of you who are listening could tell that there were questions from councillors, but they were answered confidently, and I think the community should be in good heart at the progress for what our rate take and loan money is purchasing. And this is all done too in the background of local government reform, which is unfunded and under very difficult circumstances in terms of workloads as well, in terms of that background. Next time we meet, which I think is, I calculate it's 21 sleeps till we do the finance, Mr. Watson, is that right?
Yeah.
That's the accountant's version of Christmas. 21 sleeps to the quantitative figures. You should be excited. Have you turned on us already?
I'll be on holiday.
No, you're on holiday. I wondered why I wasn't getting all excited as a elapsed accountant, but never mind. So we will do the figures, Mr. Watson, next time as well. So yes. So I'll just close with a karakia, and it's the second line is pretty apt in terms of the workload, which I think is still ahead of this council. Our work is finished for today, for the moment. Bless us all, our colleagues, our families, and peace to the universe. Thank you for those that have joined us online today, and for the officers and for the councillors as well. Thank you.